Hello and welcome to another episode of The Wave. I'm your host, Don Tecson, coming to you via Zoom, bringing you the show The Wave, which I created to promote the wonderful experiences we have in Port Alberni. That's why I call it The Wave, the wonderful Alberni Valley experience. And with us today is a very special guest and very special friend who is going to share with us her wave, her wonderful Alberni Valley experience. Please welcome to the show the lovely Jacqueline Carmichael. Hello, Jacqueline. Thank you for being on the show today.
Hey, thank you so much, Don.
Was I able to get back at you when you roasted me? I'm trying to remember because we did a roast on my birthday on the March 9th.
Yeah.
And so you did your roast and you said some very funny things, very witty things. So you did a roast and a toast, which I really appreciated. Thank you for being in that event.
What fun
Which was the last big event.
Yeah.
Before the lockdown now, but I was just so, was so happy that we were able to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, you said something about I forget. Well, you the brand, the what the F brand came out.
Your own personal brand.
my personal slogan or something.
What the fuzz?
What the fuzz? Well, that was fun. Anyways, so welcome to the show. Can you tell us about these two writers organizations that you are involved with?
Oh, sure. The Federation of British Columbia Writers. Mm-hmm. I'm on the board, and I'm also the Islands rep. I've become the Islands rep kind of recently. So, and that's an organization that supports emerging writers as well as professional writers all around the province and now into the Yukon too. So that's pretty exciting.
So what was that again? The Federation of Canadian Writers?
BC Writers.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Federation of BC Writers.
Organization. Yeah.
Okay. And then the union?
The Writers Union of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And what's your involvement there?
I am a member. I'm a member, so I participate in various events and work to support the organization. Yeah, it's a national approach, so it's a little bit different. Two great organizations, really.
And you yourself are a published author, and I have the privilege of having your book. I remember what it is, Tweets from the Trenches. Tell us a little bit about that book.
Oh, okay. Well, Tweets from the Trenches, I have a very earmarked, dog-eared one right here. Tweets from the Trenches is the subtitle is Little True Stories of Life and Death on the Western Front. Mm-hmm. And it's all about World War I, and it's got over 150 connections to World War I in it. So to the places, to the people. It's all from the perspective of the Allied, so the Commonwealth side. And the Allied side, just because I only had so much room.
Okay.
But
Okay.
So it's very inclusive. So it's got a lot. It's not just about white Anglo-Saxon male Protestants. It's got something for everybody in its pages. Yeah.
So when I first heard the title, I didn't see the cover of the book yet. When you said Tweets from the Trenches, I was thinking it's like messages from the trenches. Is that what it means?
Yeah, so it's crazy the way the name took off. I did a project in 2011 and 2012 when I was working writing for the Edmonton Sun, and mm-hmm. I did a project. I took both my grandfathers were in World War I, and I took the journals and letters of one of them that I had all this material. And I broke it down into tweets. And then I gave him a Twitter personality, George Blackjack Vowell, Alberta World War I soldier. And I tweeted it from his perspective, like he was in the trenches. So I'm hunkering down, trying to make myself small in the trench. And so the things that he was saying, I would tweet them out in little bits. I got a lot of followers for him, got some media coverage. It was a very interesting project.
Okay, so tweet was actually Twitter, because if you're saying tweets from the trenches, because Twitter wasn't around in World War I.
No, so they had their own social media. It was just a lot slower, right? So
yeah, they were using Morse code or something.
those were messages too. Some of the messages were carried out by dogs and pigeons. I mean, but there was over 2 billion pieces of mail that went back and forth across the English Channel during the war. Billion. So that's a lot of letters home, a lot of please write me, please send socks, please send food, I'm starving. So what I wanted to do was to compare their social media with our social media and show people, especially young people maybe that are comfortable with Twitter or comfortable with Facebook, show them how much like us they were.
Wow, that's fascinating. What a fascinating concept. So do you have a personal connection? Like, do you have a relative or an ancestor who like fought in the war, World War One?
Both of my grandfathers were in all 4 years, and they were gassed, they were wounded, they had the mumps, they had the flu.
Oh my.
So it
that was their version of COVID during the time.
They called it the Spanish influenza. I've just written a piece about it for my next book, and the Spanish influenza was a lot like COVID in that they didn't have a clue. They did not have a clue about how to prevent it. They had vague ideas, but they really didn't understand the idea of social distancing. So and like if you look at November 11th, 1918, which we all celebrate as Armistice Day, right? And that was the armistice, that's the cessation of hostilities. They still had business, they had prisoners to exchange back and all the rest of it. They still had to do the Treaty of Versailles, but not November 11th, whoopee, the fighting's over. And all those hundreds of thousands and millions of soldiers really were so happy, and then all of their families were so happy. What did people do? They went crazy. They went into the streets. They hugged and kissed total strangers. They were so tightly jammed in parades, the parade couldn't go anywhere because there was so many people whooping it up. And guess what? Right after that, the flu spiked.
Oh, so those were the early days of the COVID. And it wasn't in China.
The Spanish flu.
It didn't start in China.
Oh man! You know what? Actually, the Spanish flu started. The first recorded incidences that we had were in Kansas. Now we never hear it called the Kansas flu, do we?
Why was it called the Spanish flu then?
Because Spain was a neutral in the war, and so the press was suppressed. They were, don't let the fake media overblow it, right? So it was like anywhere that their country was in the war, the press was told, don't talk about how sick everybody's getting because it's just going to make everybody feel worse. And you hear these kind of noises now, right? It's like, the press is going, they should be talking about positive stuff. The only people that were neutral, that had a strong and robust press at the time, was Spain. And so Spain was reporting on the devastation that it was causing. And so it became known as the Spanish flu, but it didn't start there.
Okay. Well, we're here to talk about your wonderful Alberni Valley experience. So were you born here?
I was in the Big Green Hospital.
Okay.
That no longer exists. It's big green. The same color as like a 57 Chevy, right? That's what color the hospital was.
But you said you moved away.
I did. I moved away when I was about 5. It was a very big job for a 5-year-old, but actually, no, my family moved away. We moved to Qualicum Beach, and so we went to the other side of the island, but always returned back. Woodward's, a shopping day at Woodward's was my big thing of the week, because we'd come to take my grandmother shopping, and she would buy me a little malted ice cream thing, and I would sit and read the books at the kids part of Woodward's. I would just sit there and get immersed in these books and have my little malted that my grandma bought me. I think they were a nickel.
So Woodward's was somewhere in what, the 60s?
Yeah, it was big. Oh man, you should have seen this downtown Port Alberni around Christmas. The bustle, the lights. It was the big city to me, man. Remember, I got lost in Woodward's, and it was like, oh no, I'm lost in Woodward's. It's such a big store. So actually, that's in retrospect, that's amusing. But it was this amazing center. and Grandma would go get her groceries, and then we'd go back to her place out on Georgia Road, and she would make us pork chops or fried chicken, peas, mashed potatoes, and gravy. And
that was all part of your wonderful Alberni Valley experience.
That was my Saturday. My Saturday was Port Alberni all the way. And my dad would take the stuff to the dump, and he'd back up to get really close, and then he'd take it out of the back of the car, open up the trunk and take the stuff out. And my sister and I would scream, "Don't go over, don't go over." This was also part of my Alberni Valley experience.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So now, present day, you are now undergoing a different kind of Alberni Valley experience and isolation.
We are.
Quarantine. Yeah, all of us.
So
but
weird.
even like I was saying in the other episodes, like in spite of the crisis, in spite of the pandemic, the wave continues. The wonderful Alberni Valley continues. I'm just so surprised and amazed at our local business owners, our small local business owners, how resilient they are and how cooperative they are with each other. They're not putting each other down. They're helping each other out.
It's lovely. They're wonderful. We have such great businesses and such caring individuals. Everybody's just pitching together. And my doctor visit was on the phone, right? It's like, it's just lovely and really nice people here. Seriously nice.
Oh,
people.
definitely.
Yeah.
That's one of the main attractions for me is the people. There's the nature, the lakes and the mountains, and
you can't beat all that. It is wonderful.
The wide roads, the cheap housing, like price points of houses. It's still affordable here, and you get everything anyway. You have the big box stores, you have the small mom and pop businesses, you have a hospital.
We have it all. We have an amazing hospital. We have fabulous care available. We also we have the best water. Our water is like the top drinking water in the country. And probably in the world, right? We have amazing
and we have
water.
the best fishing too.
Oh my gosh, the fishing, right? And the fish.
And the fish, the salmon and everything. Right? And the prettiest youngest mayor.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. I mean, it's an amazing place. It really is.
So you are a published author. Have you written anything about Port Alberni in some of your publications and your writing?
There's a Port Alberni soldier in my book, in this book. And he's going to be in my upcoming book, which is coming out from Heritage House. They're a Victoria publisher. Very excited about that. And it's going to be called Amid the Guns Below. And the subtitle is Little True Stories from the Western Front.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be amazing. It's written a little bit differently than my first one was. So it's going to be much more narrative. Still going to have a ton of pictures. And it's very exciting. October of this year, Lord willing, the creek don't rise anyway. Yeah, so that's pretty great.
Okay, so how did you get started on writing in this career of your writing stuff?
I backed into it. I never thought that I would be able to write for a living because I thought that was something that just people like Hemingway and like Jane Austen, I never.
Yeah, people would saved up money and just write or something.
Yeah, I never thought. I started out going to college to be an elementary school teacher. That's kind of what I was thinking. So
okay.
I know, right? So me, an elementary school teacher, but I went back. I had started my family fairly young. I only had like a year of college and got married and started a family pretty young. But I got an opportunity to go to community college. And I took an aptitude test. And they were like, okay, see what you're good at. And I actually had pretty broad skills, but they said, right, you should write or communicate. And I was like, oh, could I? Do you think I could? And
well, it turns out you could.
It turns out I could. I started in radio, and I had some really funny experiences in radio, like falling asleep.
Oh, really? You started on radio? Okay.
Yeah, I did. I was a night announcer at a big country music station in Brandon, Manitoba, and it was pretty doggone cool. I loved the work. But eventually went with my family down to Texas, and it was hard to find radio work, and I threw myself at the mercy of the local newspaper guy, and he said, well, I don't know if you're going to like it. Did you go to the courthouse? He actually talked exactly like that. And
You
And
should be
so I
a
went,
reader as well.
I went and started writing about the courthouse and covering court cases, and by gum, I could do it. So
Well, there you
eventually
go.
I became really productive and worked my way into various kinds of writing. I've done magazine writing, I've done editing, I have done a little more radio, but really just kind of mostly focused on journalism for a long career, and finished my career in Ucluelet at the Westerly News, where I was the publisher.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, for the Tofino Ucluelet Westerly News. And that was wonderful. I love small town newspapers. And I love our newspaper too.
Of course.
I
So do
love
you
it.
write for a newspaper from time to time?
From time to time I do. From time to time I write for the Alberni Valley News too.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you mentioned some time ago, before we went on the interview, that you raised your children in Texas. How did that come about?
Yeah. My husband went down there for work, and so we followed. And so,
Oh, I see.
yeah. So I got a lot of opportunities in Texas, and I have a lot of good friends still there. So, and definitely tried out several parts of the state before I heard my motherland calling me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how recent was your return to Port Alberni and thus restarted your wonderful Alberni Valley experience?
Returned, was it, I think 2016.
Oh, okay. So just recently, as a matter of fact, because I came 2015 and I fell in love with the place.
Yeah.
When I first set foot here 2011, I already fell in love, but I didn't have the opportunity to live here. But I had a wish ever since I've been here. I said, I wish I would live here. And it's just a different vibe. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different pace. It's a different thing altogether.
I love the pace. I love the spaces. I think for a place that's surrounded by mountain, there's a lot of space and a lot of green space in the town. And of course, we'd like to see, you know, our business sector, which is pretty battered right now because of COVID-19. Everybody is sort of in that sort of, you know, gosh.
Everybody, even the Vancouver people, are battered by this whole thing.
Oh, they're more battered because they have higher mortgages, and they're living their razor edge is much more challenging than ours is. But everybody's story is unique, and you really feel for the businesses for sure, and would love to see things, you know, grow and flourish and certainly get back to where they were and then keep going up from there. So yeah.
So can we safely say that upon your return in 2016, you are happy, you're living happily ever after in the wonderful Alberni Valley?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You're involved with one of the local events here called Words on Fire. Can you tell us a little bit about Words on Fire?
Oh, I love Words on Fire. It's such a great group of people, and it's such a nice forum, a nice safe forum for people to come and experiment with reading their work and writing something just for the group, or reading something. We've got people reading a wonderful YA sort of a fantasy novel. We've got people reading all sorts of things. So it's a lovely setting. You can't beat Char's Landing, which I'm personally just in love with. It's so gorgeous. And what I'm excited about is that Char is continuing to host, not just host, but actually ramp up the opportunities, because I mean, writers are isolated anyway, because, you know, we kind of we do our thing with our computer and we don't really see people while we're doing that. So we need opportunities to read our stuff. And now we need even more FaceTime, because we're not getting it. Like, we couldn't, you know, I'd go down and have coffee with you, right? We'd be like doing something, right? And we miss those opportunities. So so now Char's Landing is hosting this with Zoom twice a month instead of just once a month. So it's like the second Wednesday and then the last Wednesday of the month, and at 7 o'clock. And it's really lovely. It's very fun. We've kind of worked through some of the challenges of you know, the sound and helping people understand how to use Zoom and stuff. But Zoom is going to be, it's like the telephone. 110 years ago, people were like, I don't know if I want that in my home. It's so invasive. Ooh, it's creepy. And now everybody's got a phone.
It's so heavy, you have to dial the thing.
Yeah. So
you can use it as a murder weapon.
Yeah, in the den. The butler did it in the den with the stick phone.
Exactly.
But so Zoom it's people don't need to be afraid of it. It's just, it is the wave, the wave of the future. It's people are, in 10 years from now, video conferencing by whatever brand it is, video conferencing is going to be just about everywhere. So, and right now is really helpful because I love, like, this is so great. See you. I missed your face. So this is good. Thank you.
Well, you came by a few days ago to pick up some spring rolls. I hope you enjoy them.
Oh, they were fantastic.
I'm already receiving orders. We already have over 200 orders ready to be picked up on Friday. So
that's
so after this, I have to go to No Frills and buy some ingredients for the spring roll.
Yeah. Don't forget to wear your mask.
We're coming up with a veggie spring roll, if in case you're interested. Well, anybody who's watching, PM me on Facebook for veggie spring roll.
It's a shameless plug. I plug my book. You can plug your spring rolls. Yeah, that's right.
So you're working on, how many books are you working on now?
Well, if I can get back to it, I did an ebook about social distancing for families to help kids and families kind of talk through some of the challenges, because, you know, at a time like this when all the adults are scared anyway, we don't want the kids to be like tortured, right? We want to be reassuring to them, and we want to be positive for them, and we want to help them be safe, but not be too worried, because that's the grown-up's job in the household, right? So, and it's such a challenging time for families. So I thought, well, I'll write a book about that. And so I decided to incorporate these animals. And it's set in a community of animals. The word pandemic is never used, but pandemonium is.
Okay.
And so this community of animals, and I use pictures of animals, but I've doctored the pictures so they're wearing face masks when they go out. And then they're dealing with stuff like, my face is itchy and I can't scratch it. You know, I mean, you know, they're dealing and telling me not to touch my face. Are you kidding? Come on, I'm a kid. So anyway, I just thought it'd be kind of interesting and maybe helpful for families. It can be ordered on Amazon, but I'm working on a print version too, because I want to be able to give it away.
Yeah.
And I put it in the past tense.
Did you just go to Amazon to find it and order it?
Yeah. It's called My Read Aloud Tales About Social Distancing.
Oh, okay. Now, do you have anything on Facebook or YouTube that we can go to and reference your work?
I do. Yeah, you can. Okay,
time for shameless plugging. Go ahead.
Facebook. Facebook. There's a page for it on Facebook.
Which is, what's the name of the page?
I Read Aloud Tales About Social Distancing.
Okay. And on YouTube, do you have anything on YouTube?
No, I've been meaning to do a reading with puppets, but I've been very busy helping members of the Federation of BC Writers and other writers get on Zoom.
Okay.
So I have been doing workshops and coffee meetups so that writers can hang out and just have coffee and talk about things like publicizing your book, or struggling with how to create your characters, or whatever. Have a different topic, and or read your work. Tomorrow night we're having one where people can just read their work. It's very fun. So, but you know, between 7 to 20 people show up, and we see each other's faces, and we get that FaceTime we crave, and we share our work. And so I've been doing that for the Federation of BC Writers, sort of a little pilot project. And
yes, and I understand that you are helping out with Words on Fire as well, because now they've amped up Words on Fire. Now it's twice a month now.
Yeah, a little bit.
Only once a month.
Yes, that's right. So really, Stephen Novick is the face and the voice of the organization, that beautiful booming baritone. And Shar, of course, is our host. So I just help with some posters or some publicity. You may have seen an article in the paper last week. And also I find writers from elsewhere in the province and in the Yukon to come and be one of the feature readers. So we hear from someone.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I heard there's going to be 2 feature readers now, one national and one...
Yeah, regional.
Okay. Regional,
yeah. And so one is like sort of provincial and extra provincial. Next week it's going to be Joanna Lilly, who's a super accomplished writer. She's got a novel. She's got several collections.
So she's provincial.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Okay.
she's from the Yukon. She's from
Okay.
the Yukon. So
Okay.
she's going to be joining us via Zoom. And then people can Shar has this Q&A, which is super fun. So people can ask questions of the writers after they do their readings. And then we have open mic, which is really important
Okay.
so that
Now,
people can do that.
how does one join in that meeting? Do they have to be invited, or have they part of the Words on
Just
Fire group? Because
look up
I'm part of that. I know.
Alberni Valley Words on Fire on Facebook. The
Okay.
easiest way is to go through Facebook. But if they're struggling with that, they can let us know and we'll find it. We'll get it. We can email them an invitation. They do have to have the capacity on their computer for video, obviously, but most recent models do have that. So yeah, so and you click on the link there on Facebook on either Shar's Landings page or on Alberni Valley Words on Fire, and it'll take you to the Zoom page, right?
And you can participate in that wonderful activity, which is now twice a
And you
month.
can sign up early. So sign up between like 6:30 and 7, and you send Carl Corvin, who's this fabulous guy who
Coordinator,
does,
yeah.
he's our coordinator, and send Carl a note, say, hey, I'd like to, I'd like
Be one
to
of the
read
speakers,
about
right?
something. Yeah, and then you get on the list, and so we have a couple open mic readers, and then we have the feature, the regional feature, and then the provincial or national feature, and then we have some more open mic. So it's very fun.
There
And
you
if people
go. And
just
it's
want to
happening
come and
here in Port Alberni. You can't find that anywhere else.
what?
Words on Fire is happening here in Port Alberni.
You know what? Actually, we're really taking the lead on this. There are other people who are doing this, but they're struggling. And Alberni has embraced it and is really, I think, leading. I think it's because of Shar's dedication and Steve's commitment. I think it's because of those things that we are actually leading the way on this. Others are trying, and we're getting it done.
Bravo. That's why we have the wave. Yes.
Yeah.
It all adds up to the wonderful Alberni Valley experience. Well, thank you, Jackie. I can talk forever with you, but we're out of time for this episode. The one last question. Given the scenario that the pandemic is finally over, what is the first thing you're going to do?
When the pandemic is over, and I'm going to be one of the late adopters, I'm not going to be out there going, I'm going to be like one of the last people. They're going to have to claw my hands from the door frame. When the pandemic is over, I will be so happy. I want to eat out. I'll be honest. I want to eat out. I want to shop. I want to go. I want to hug people. Gosh, I want to hug people. So I want to do this.
I'm going to hug as much people as I can. That's for sure.
Right? Okay.
But I think I will eat out. Where are you going to go?
Oh.
It's okay to plug.
Okay. All right.
Some other business owners, but
anyway, I love Bird's Beans. I love Bird's Beans. I love steampunk. I love the Little Bavaria is my favorite place to go for a birthday. I love Twin Cities Brewing and want to go back there soon. But fortunately, I can get my Chinese food fix from Beijing Grand. So
that's where I go too.
Yeah, they're lovely but there.
Everybody order out. Mom lives with me, so I don't need to eat out.
Oh, I love boomerangs. I love them all. With someone got Granny's and J&L, I like it all. I probably eat out too much.
There you go. I won't put you on the spot for that. But definitely, I will meet you for dinner once this is over. But I am not like you. I will be a cautious, I will take it in stride. I don't want to take one step forward and 5 steps backward, right? Because that can happen.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm waiting for an antidote. I'm not happy with just a vaccine. No. Anyway, I want an antidote, a cure, not a vaccine.
Yeah. I know. We need that. Our world needs it. But in the meantime, we're tough, we're resilient, and we stick together with things like the wonderful Alberni Valley experience. Thank you for keeping us all connected.
Well, there you go. That's all the time we have for today. Remember, folks, no matter what happens, a pandemic, a tsunami, whatever happened, we've been through, in Port Alberni, we've been through a tsunami, we've been forest fires, we've been through a strike in our mill, we've been, we're undergoing this crisis. No matter what happens, we will continue to have a wonderful Alberni Valley experience. Catch you next time on The Wave.